Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ghost Education 101. Hey, Tiffany, it's great to see you this
Hey,
week. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How about you?
Good. I'm doing great. Looking forward to finishing up our first episode that took longer than 2 hours. So
Yes.
this is going to be a fun one. And I'm just looking to see if anyone's joining us yet, and not yet, but I'm sure there are a couple of people who will be joining us soon. We have our regulars that come every week. Make sure when you are here, you say hello. But basically today we're just going to finish the list of questions that you had for us last week. I mean, 2 weeks ago
Let's do
already.
it. Yeah, 2 weeks. Because I can't believe October's almost over.
I know. I can't believe that either. And actually, last week's show was amazing. I'm still getting people messaging me about it, saying it was such a great show and how much they love Blake. So we definitely have to have him on again.
That's amazing. Absolutely, for sure.
Okay, so where do you want to start today?
Okay, let's see. There's so many questions.
And if we can't get through them again, we'll just do this again down the road.
We'll save it for another day. Oh, here's a really good one under ethics and clients. What's your duty of care to homeowner when evidence is ambiguous but fear is high?
Of course, you always want to reduce the fear as much as possible, because even if you're not experiencing anything, their pain is real, is what I always say. Their fear is real. So you want to kind of either show them how it's not paranormal, or if it is paranormal, how to deal with it. And it's just basically you want to make sure that you don't feed their fear is my biggest thing. I see so many people. I mean, one client I had, she even had a priest come into her home to bless her home. And he stepped 2 feet in the door and he was like, "You have a demon in your house. I'm leaving."
And that's the worst because they're people, you're supposed to be able to look up to them and trust them
Right.
and go to them for these kinds of situations. And that I've heard of that happening so many times with
Yep.
people, and that makes it really hard.
Or the other one that came into her home was like, "You have a demon and I need $5,000 to help you."
Run, throw them out.
Like,
I've had so many people ask us, they're like, "What do you charge?" And we go, "We don't charge. We are volunteer based. We
yep.
do this for free." And so many people are just completely blown away by that. It's just a concept that you don't really you come across very often of people actually wanting to help you for free.
Right.
But
And
we
that's
are out
Yeah,
there.
and that is a tough one though, because I know Dr. Kelly brought it up in one of his classes where if you want to
Yeah,
charge, it's okay,
it is
because
okay.
so many people are like, "No, you can't charge. You're not ethical if you charge for paranormal research." But it's no different than going in as a bug exterminator. If you
Mhm.
need to recoup your expenses, it's okay that you charge. You just need to make sure you do it ethically, explain what the charges are for, and then
Exactly.
also
And
understand
be
that someone might
reasonable.
not bring you into their home because you are charging, but this team's not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And being reasonable. Charging somebody,
Oh,
$5,000 to rid a
right.
demon,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah. I
know,
know the
but
last team
people
I was
feed off
on.
of people's desperation,
Mhm.
so
Right. And that's the tough part. But like the
yeah.
last team I was on, we didn't charge, but if someone, wanted to offer to pay for us for something,
Yeah.
we would just be like, "Hey, have pizza when we arrive."
Mhm. Mhm.
It's like,
Exactly.
if you're going to pay us for our time, we'd rather you just have pizza and enjoy dinner with us. And
Exactly.
that's when we
Yeah.
would talk to them and try to calm down their nerves at the same time.
And that's really great because you're able to establish, like, a good rapport, I think a
Mhm.
much better rapport
Right.
with
Yeah.
them, when you can be in, not just being in their own home where they're already comfortable, but,
Mhm.
engaging in something that is comforting anyway, and I think that's a really good way to accomplish that.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. And I mean, then on the flip side too, though, is you have some people who are not comfortable in their home. So sometimes inviting them to meet at a coffee shop or their favorite restaurant or something like that might be more comforting to them, because it also eases the fear of, "I'm inviting these strangers into my home. I need to get to know them first."
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure, and that's one of the reasons we actually do, Zoom calls prior to,
Mhm.
um, going to any, private home investigation as well, is so that they can see us, they know what we look like, we're not just people off the street, we have homes,
Right.
you know, we are just regular people here wanting to help.
Mhm.
That's
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know, you call if you can't, because people are busy. And so, meeting at a coffee shop or something, that's not always going to be feasible, but at least having
Yeah.
that Zoom call where you can have that one-on-one, face-to-face, and give people also the platform to just open up.
Right.
And
Yeah.
because a lot of times, and Dr. Kelly said this too, a lot of times all they need is just to talk. And they need
Exactly.
do is not going to tell them they're crazy because, like you said, their fear, their pain, that's real, and you have to be accepting of that.
Right. Yeah. And that's the same thing. I mean, I'm in retail right now, and I always tell my coworkers when someone just because we get the area we're in, we get a lot of senior citizens. You would think I'm back in Florida. I just kind of relocated to Texas where they have the same demographics. But it sometimes they come in and yeah, they might be just exchanging their equipment, but they start up a whole conversation with you. They tell you
Yeah.
their life story, but they just need someone to
Mhm.
talk to.
I remember that when I worked in retail too. Yeah.
Yep.
It was fun. I had some really awesome conversations during
Hmm.
those times.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's just hard when you're on an hour wait.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like you
That
want to
is
rush them along, but then you feel bad for them. But yeah, and it's the same thing in the paranormal field. You might be busy in your life, but you just got to step back and take that time to help make.
yeah.
I don't like using the word client per se because that does take on certain legal aspects if you use the word client, but the person you're trying to help, it
Yeah.
just takes some time. you know.
Yeah.
Let me take a look here real quick. And actually, one question, it's not on
Mhm.
our list, but it was something I was thinking of. I'm not going to talk about any specific drama that's going on right now in the paranormal field, but
I
one
think I
question
know
I
where
get
you're
asked
going with this.
one question I get asked a lot is, how do you avoid paranormal drama? And this could be a tip for new investigators that seem to get sucked into the drama all the time.
Yeah.
What would your tips be to avoid that trauma?
That's a really awesome question, and I learned it at a very early stage getting into this work because it's so easy, especially with social media. It is so
Mhm.
easy to get sucked in. It's so easy to fall onto a bandwagon that you didn't even know you were jumping on.
Right.
And that makes it really tricky. So, one really important thing, and to mention Dr. Kelly again, that he
Mhm.
preaches
We need to
or
get him on the
teaches.
show.
We really do. I think he
I've
watches.
asked
We
I've asked him before, but he says he doesn't do podcasts. So we need to get him on. Maybe if both of us
I'll
ask him.
I'm gonna email him. But it's about thinking for yourself,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Gathering all the information. And I teach this to my children. It's like I can give you all the information in the world, but I can't make you think. You have to be the one to do it. And
Mhm.
so it's really about just learning to think for yourself. Yes, you can do your research, whatever that is for you, whatever sources you choose to go to. But at the end of the day, you really just have to sit down and think for yourself and
Mhm.
say, is this something I want to follow? Or do I want to just go down my own path? And maybe it's a little bit easier for me because I've always been that person. I've
Mhm.
always been the person that is going to choose the path least followed.
Right.
I've always been that way. And I mean, I'm thankful I'm that way because it's led me down this path and I absolutely love it. But I just, if somebody is spewing hate, I'm automatically done.
Yeah. Yeah.
If somebody is bad mouthing people, I'm done.
Mhm.
If somebody just wants to talk and, talk rumors, talk about people just to talk, I'm done.
Mhm.
And when I say I'm done, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm unfollowing, I'm canceling,
Right.
I'm just not associating with them. It means I might be silencing them for 30 days.
Yep.
I might be purposely not looking at certain hashtags and just not going down that rabbit hole because I'm at the point in my life, both professionally and personally, where if it's not something that's going to benefit me in a positive way, then it's not
Mhm.
my business. And
Yep.
I think so many people need to start realizing that it's
Yep.
because it's like nowadays, and you write books, so you know this too in the bookish world, it's really the same thing. And I think it's
Mhm.
really with any career path, you're going to have drama, especially
Mhm.
in today's world where everybody wants to be right. Everybody wants instant gratification. And ev- it's a really strange world that we live in because it almost feels like if they can make somebody's life miserable, then they've won.
Right.
But honestly,
Yep.
at the end of the day, the people who are trying to make someone miserable, they're the ones who are actually miserable.
Yep. Yeah,
So it's about
exactly.
thinking for yourself.
Yep. Yeah, I follow a motivational speaker, Gary Vaynerchuk. He's
Yes.
very abrasive, but I
Yes.
love his
Love him.
mentality. I love his
Yeah.
mentality and how he, it's granted sometimes watching him, it's, F this, F that, screw them, screw this.
Yeah.
But, I love that it's, but I do have to say that there have been times where I'm guilty of getting the popcorn and scrolling through the comments to see what happens.
It's hard not to because it's right in front
Right.
of your face. It's
Right.
right there.
I don't
It's really
participate.
hard,
I don't comment. I don't
but you're
share.
scrolling.
I don't, but I'm still scrolling like, okay, what's happening?
What's the dirt? It's like a soap opera, right? We don't have soap operas anymore. I know some people who
Yeah.
watch this might be too young to
Oh,
understand what those were and what they
yeah.
meant to our
Right.
generation or our mother's generation, but they were a big deal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh, but somebody else asked me that recently, what I said to them was, I wake up every morning and I say, "Fuck the noise," and I'm gonna
Yep.
do what makes my soul happy.
Hmm.
That's what you
Yep.
have to do
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
otherwise,
Yeah.
like, you have to do what makes you happy.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
I know that following dirt and drama doesn't make you truly happy.
No, but it does know who to avoid.
That is true. Yeah.
So, that reading the comments does more than just, hey, it shows me who I should be avoiding.
Yeah.
So we have a
Yeah.
special
Gotcha.
guest joining us again.
Blake,
Blake, thank you for
hello.
watching
So
tonight. How
good
are
to
you
have you
doing?
here.
I still can't believe that was a week ago.
I know. Like, what happened?
And to answer his question, because he's probably going to ask, no, I have not reached out to your editor yet, but I am almost done reading through the book and making sure it's ready to send to an editor. So
That's
I am
awesome.
I
I'm
am
actually
working on
meeting
it.
with her next Friday, so I'm
Okay.
gonna tell her.
Yep. Yep. I'm
I'm gonna
doing
tell
one
her, "Expect a
final
call
reading
from
through
Heather."
it. Yep. One final read through, and then it'll be good to go.
That's awesome.
Because I knew that would have been his next question.
For sure.
Okay.
All right, another question. Let's see. So, Heather, where do
Mhm.
you draw the line between investigator and counselor, and how do you hand off responsibility? That one is hard, especially in this field. What would we do without you, Blake? I don't know, man.
Yes. And I'm actually working on that list. I messaged him earlier today that I'll be reaching
Did
out this
you?
week because I have some great ideas for all of us to work on together. So,
I
but
love
yes.
it. I love it. I'm excited.
So the line between counselor and investigator. Well,
Yeah,
first of all, we stopped doing residential cases.
right.
So my line is drawn when someone reaches out to me and it's a residential case. 9 times out of 10, of course, every time they call, I will listen to what they have to say. I'll try to offer
Mhm.
virtual advice the best I can. But 9 times out of 10, I have as you've learned real quick, I have a huge list of contacts that
Yes.
I can pass off. So I guess I'm kind of almost like the hub when someone has paranormal activity or needs that I can refer them to just about anybody who could help them.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm more blessed. I don't really play counselor, but I play counselor in the way of guiding them in the right direction.
And that's really that takes a lot of courage for people to understand about themselves, for
Mhm.
somebody to say, that's not something that I am willing to take on.
Yep.
And that's
Mhm.
perfectly fine. But for somebody to say, I'm going to work so that if I am approached, I can at least, hand them off to somebody who they'll be in good care
Mhm.
of. So
Yep.
that takes a lot of courage to come to have that realization.
Yep. Yeah. No, I worked hard to make that list of contacts that I have. So
Yeah. Yes,
so
you
if
have.
anyone needs help, they know I can find someone who can help them.
And I
Yeah.
guess for us, it would be, and that's really hard because you don't want to downplay what people are experiencing.
Right.
Um, and you want to allow them to vent. And I always allow people to vent. I always allow people to tell us what they're experiencing and how they feel about it.
Mhm.
Um, but I will be honest with them and I will tell them, like, if the conversation starts going in the way of demons or something of that nature, I will tell them, we don't deal with religion. We only deal with human spirits. Um, you just have to be very, very honest. And if it feels like it's more of a case where they might be manifesting because of trauma and we feel like uh maybe it's not paranormal, maybe they're just having so much emotional pain that in their eyes it's coming off as paranormal.
Mhm.
Again, we do have to be very honest and be sensitive at the same time.
Mhm.
And, and like you, we do have people who we are able to direct them to. But we
Mhm.
have to tell them, we don't think this is the case for us. We think this might be what's happening based off of what you've told us, based off of everything that you've said. And some people really don't like that, and that's okay.
Yep.
And then other people have been very thankful and said, I never saw it that way. I had one lady not too long ago contact us, and I took it upon myself to speak to her over the phone. And it
Mhm.
became very clear very quickly that she was dealing with a lot of emotional stuff. And I said to her, perhaps it's not so much paranormal, but perhaps it's your living situation. And when I said that, she opened up and she said, I had that feeling too, but I just wasn't sure.
Mhm.
So being honest with somebody doesn't necessarily mean they're going to take offense. A lot of times, they just don't understand what is actually happening. And they just need somebody to come in with an unbiased view and say,
Mhm.
based off what you said, perhaps this might be what's actually going on. And maybe you need to look at certain steps to make changes. And she was
Mhm.
very, very thankful. And I actually touched base with her about a month after that, and she was doing so much better.
Good, good. Yeah. It's always great when something like that works out for the client.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do. So here's an interesting one. What is a professional risk that you took that ultimately made your work better?
Hmm. Honestly, and I think we've touched on this briefly tonight and also a couple weeks ago. Um, Not jumping on the bandwagons,
Yep. Hmm.
just thinking for myself. And if I'm not sure, finding those people who I trust, who are not the types of people who just like to jump on bandwagons just to be on
Hmm.
them, but really take this work seriously, who are scientifically minded. And like I've discussed some cases with you and asked you,
Hmm.
like, what do you think? You have to have those kinds of relationships in these fields, in research fields especially, whether it's paranormal or different research fields. You have to have those kinds of relationships where you can go to a colleague and you can toss ideas back and forth, people you trust, because sometimes something will spark just by having a conversation,
Yeah.
and light bulbs will go off and ideas will come to you. So, from the start, I think I kind of figured that out just from what I was seeing and what I was hearing. And I knew that's not the path I wanted to take. I
Mhm.
wanted to take this 100% seriously because I wanted it to be my career. And so that's what I've done is I have a list of people who I trust very much. And it's really important to also realize that you're not always going to see eye to eye, even with your colleagues, people you've worked with for a long time. And that's also completely okay. It's about respect. And all it really is, because this is all theory, right? This is
Mhm.
what we work with. We work with theories. And so it's about having people around you who respect you enough and vice versa, where you feel comfortable enough tossing theories around and not being made to feel like a fool because of it.
Right.
So
Yep, exactly. And mine is similar to that. It was just one of those, I had an awakening. And for
mm,
me, it was more or less not to say anything bad about paranormal TV and not to say anything bad about paranormal tourists, is what I call them.
yeah.
It's this field is, and I think I have a quote that I've shared around is this field will never be taken seriously as a true science if we
Yep.
treat it as a pseudoscience.
Yep.
And we need to focus more on it and take the steps necessary to document everything the way it should be, not say, oh, a K2 meter tells me there's a ghost here because I saw
Yeah.
it on Ghost Hunters. And nothing wrong with Ghost Hunters, just that's
Yeah.
what I hear a lot.
Yeah.
And there's more to it than just going and investigating, and people are not realizing that. And that's where I realize that this field needs to take a shift,
It
or
does.
even a split. Go ahead, keep the paranormal tourists off to the side, and almost like a three-way split, in my opinion. You have your paranormal tourists, which is the tours, the investigations, people who go to cemeteries just to see what they can catch. As long as they're respectful, they do their thing. Then you have those that help the clients try, people who are having paranormal activity in their home.
Right.
And then you have those that actually do the research. They
Mhm.
take time, not even so much developing technology to do it, but they're using theories to figure out things. They're
Mhm.
diving into, combining into chemistry and how chemistry
Right.
can prove paranormal activity, how physics can prove paranormal activity. So I really do think that that split needs to be done. And it just, in my mind, I took my path for that. And that's kind of what changed how I viewed everything that was going on.
Awesome. I like that. I've never heard of that kind of three-way split before, and I like that. That's really good. What's one myth you wish the community would retire because it harms clients or muddles research? There's
Orbs.
a lot.
Yeah, orbs would be my first one
Yeah.
because and it was funny too. Today nothing was on TV and I was sitting down
Mm.
relaxing and I put on, I should have known better, but Paranormal Caught on Camera.
That show, oh my god, don't get me started, Heather.
Everything they showed, I had an explanation for.
So
And,
hard.
and I'm like, I get it, and I'm like, and I'm sitting here yelling at the TV. I'm like, why aren't they trying to disprove it? Why aren't they trying, test it out and see if they can recreate it? Why aren't they? And they're just like, oh yeah, that could be a
Who's
demon or a
behind
cloaked
the
figure
door?
walking straight, you know, or
My
the
husband
one
says we can't watch that show together anymore because I just ruined it for
you
him.
heard it. It's like what, and even my husband was laughing. There was one, they were walking through the woods in Australia. And all of a sudden, these two glowing eyes peeked around the tree and they freaked out and ran away. And they were like, all the people that they were interviewing, the experts, were like, oh, yeah, it could be this demon. It could be this type of entity. It could be this. I'm like, it was probably a freaking koala bear peeking around the corner because it
Yeah,
heard noise. I'm like,
I love it.
but so, yeah,
Yeah.
that show, but definitely the orbs because it there was one
Oh,
group I was a part of a couple years ago, and photos were sent to me, and the woman was in her backyard, and it was snowing. Plus, the
Oh
backyard
no.
was all dirt, and the kids were playing in the yard. And even the director for this group sent it to me and said, "Can you analyze this, because I believe she's surrounded by spirits." And I sent it back to him. I'm like, don't ask me. You know my opinion on orbs. Why are you doing this?
Yep.
I'm like,
Yeah.
there's too many factors that says, it could be the snow, it could be the dirt, it could be it's humid out because it's snowing. I'm like, there's too many things that it could be. I'm like, so no, don't. We did a ghost edge show. I think it was a couple years ago now, and we had a lot of people on, and I shared different things. And we might have to redo it, because I mean, some of the stuff I still have all the videos, but
Yeah.
it was even stuff shared by news channels. A news photographer for a news station in Florida was filming something, and then they interviewed him because he had a green orb in 2 of his shots. He was shooting directly into the sun.
It was a lens flare.
Right. I'm like, as a news report, as a news
They should know
photographer, you
better.
should know this. But
You
they
should know
interviewed him,
better.
and he was like, "Oh yes, it was an orb, and it was, he believes it was the spirit of so and so who lived in the home." And so, I mean, it was a really good show and a fun show, because, and
Yeah.
we weren't making fun of people who believed that they were spirits. It was just more or less we were trying to educate, and there were times where we
Yes.
just started laughing because we couldn't believe that,
Yeah.
there was, it was
Well,
interesting.
I've shared that picture at it. Well, not, I didn't show it, but
Mhm.
I shared the story of that picture that
Yeah.
was floating around social media of somebody literally going into their iPhone and using the marker tool in the photo, like their camera app, and drawing a
Mhm.
line straight across and saying it was a demon around a child. And it's like, you guys, this is why, and it's just, it can be really maddening sometimes,
Mhm.
because you have people who are experiencing profound phenomena,
Yeah.
and they're terrified, and they might have a priest or a pastor or whoever come to their house and then immediately leave because they feel like they don't know what to do, right?
Mhm.
And then they're stuck in kind of limbo, and again, they're like, we don't know what to do. We can't move. We don't have anywhere to go. We're just stuck, and we're living with something, and we don't know what it is. And nobody, and they're terrified because they're scared no one's going to take them seriously.
Yeah.
And so when you do things like that, it just makes it so much harder for the people who are truly going through something and living through trauma,
Mhm.
and don't know what to do and have nowhere to go, and it just makes it so
Mhm.
much harder. So I wish people would take it more
Mhm.
seriously, and
Yeah.
look at that stuff with a logical mind. And yes, it's snowing.
Right.
Let's come
Yeah.
back when it's not snowing and maybe see what else happens.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the other thing too that gets under my skin, and I actually use this example with the photos in my presentations on photography, but people need to stop using apps
Yes, that
to
was going to be mine, Heather.
to
It's okay.
fake their
That's fine.
photos. Not so
Yeah.
much the apps for investigating, but to fake their photos. The iPhone app, there's this little girl in a cute little prairie dress. A friend of mine he was on the last team I was on. He's like, look at this photo someone sent me that I met at a park out in Vegas. And it was the little girl. And I was like, wow, that's kind of creepy looking, but didn't think too much about it. Then a week later, someone sent me something from a business building, a high rise in Vegas. Just outside the elevators, there was a little girl standing.
It's
Same
the
little
same
girl.
thing.
So the more I did a reverse image search and found out who she
Yeah.
was. She was an iPhone app that puts the little girl into the photo. But then after doing more research, she also appeared in a photo in South Carolina outside of a barn. And then she also appeared in a mine in West Virginia. So this little girl gets around. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, spirits can, travel, but it's just like, okay, that's a little too coincidental. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's these iPhone
That's
apps are getting out of hand as far as, faking the evidence.
Yeah. Yeah, and people have been faking evidence since the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Um, God, my daughter just scared the crap out of me. Good night. I see hair. She's petting the cats and I see hair. What's going on? That's so funny. Anyways, we're talking about ghosts. uh, yeah. So people have been faking evidence since the beginning.
Mhm.
But I think you said this during our first episode together. It used to be so much easier or so much harder to fake evidence and so much easier to pick it out. Whereas now everything just seems so real. And if you don't know how technology is used or how it works, like you were
Mhm.
mentioning AI in the
Yep.
episode we did together a couple weeks ago, like it's changing data. You can tell it to change data, and
Mhm.
now you don't know what's real and what's not.
Yeah. Yep.
Guys, come on. We're trying to prove that ghosts exist.
Mhm.
We're trying to be taken seriously. She wanted to travel. She sure
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. She wanted to get around.
Yeah. But mine was gonna be the apps too. I was actually gonna bring up the apps. I was gonna bring up both, the photo apps, but also the apps in general.
Mhm.
I I shared this in the first episode. I'm not I don't use the apps.
Mhm.
Unless I'm doing like an EVP session and I'm using the voice recorder. Other
That's
than that,
different. Yeah.
I'm
That
not using I have absolutely no paranormal apps on my phone. I don't
Mhm.
believe in them. Um, if you First of all, the SLS app, just don't even get me
Don't get me
started.
started on that one.
Um, I don't understand I'm not really sure what other apps are out there. I know there's a spirit box app. I've never personally used it. I don't know how much I would trust that because you can't really control it,
Mhm.
the way you can the actual device.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
if you're serious about this work, if you're serious about the field, if you're wanting to really contribute to conducting research and collecting data, um, to hopefully one day prove that what's happening is real,
Mhm.
is happening, then you're not going to use something like an app on your phone. You're going to use real devices
Mhm.
that you can actually record data on and have it. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's just,
And
maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just too old school, guys.
no.
Maybe I've been told that a bunch of times. Yeah, maybe I'm old school, but
And
that's
the
just
thing
my
is I
personal
don't
opinion.
think even EVPs, I mean, granted, yes, it's a way to communicate, but
Mhm.
I think there's more scientific data that we can be collecting. Like,
Yeah,
okay, we captured an EVP at this time, but what also happened in the room? Was there a
yeah,
spike in geothermal energy? Was there a spike in, there's more to it,
yeah,
than
for sure.
just, you know, and it's even, I mean, we could take photos all day long, but that's still not
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
So where do we want to go next?
Oh, you pick.
Um, okay, how about what investigation kept you up at night, not from fear, but from the ethical and analytical knot it posed?
Have I been on one? I'd have to say, and again, I shared this in our first episode. I'd have to say it was before I joined my current paranormal investigations team, where I met up with a group at a cemetery. Um, and just the way they were just conducting themselves, and not all of them, but a good
Mhm.
majority of them, the way they were conducting themselves, uh, using the apps, okay, that's one thing, but also just being rude in a place where people are trying to rest for eternity. You
Right.
know, um, I went home that night and I wouldn't say I was upset, but it really had me thinking like, I really need to pay really close attention to who I associate with
Mhm.
and to the group of people because I knew I was going to go into this field. And I decided then that I really needed to be careful about the people that I let into my small circle and
Mhm.
trusted, because I knew it wasn't going to be like what we saw on TV. But like I said before, I've always been the person to follow my gut,
Mhm.
and it just didn't feel right.
Right.
I was
Yep.
like, this is not the way it's supposed to be done. And I just knew that.
Mhm.
And so I did everything I could to really keep listening to my gut, but also thinking for myself, like, okay, if
Mhm.
that doesn't feel right, if that doesn't sound right, if it doesn't look right, I'm distancing myself
Yep. Yep.
and I'm going
And
to find out how it's supposed to be done.
right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've worked with a couple different teams, and there's some that are just like, they keep you up at night wondering, is this the team I should be working with? Or,
Yeah.
is this the person I should be working with? There's very few people in the past that, and I know you don't always investigate at night, but there are a lot of times where you go into a place and it's just you and the other investigator. So if you
Mhm.
don't trust them wholeheartedly,
Yeah.
it's like you can't, and there's outside of my family, which is my team, there's
Mhm.
two other investigators that I've actually investigated with in the past that I would trust my life with going
Yeah.
out and doing this. And then there's a
100%.
handful that I've yet to investigate with that I feel the same way.
Mhm.
So it's kind of scary.
That's really, really important, and actually, I just did a lecture at a library a couple weeks ago, and that was, one of the things I really tried to drive home because we had a lot of, younger folks in the
Mhm.
lecture, and I know how younger people like to think because I was one,
Yep.
and I was one I was young at one point.
You were.
And I was. And I really drove home the fact that, look, I know what you see on TV and, when they isolate one person and they lock them in a room and they go to another location on the property and it's hilarious because they're terrified. That's for TV.
Yep.
When you are doing a true investigation to really gather data, to really figure out what's going on and to help the people understand what is actually happening on at a location, you're not doing stuff like that. You are taking everything seriously at every moment during that
Mhm.
investigation because a lot of times we are investigating at night, and we're not just investigating at night because that's when the ghosts come out. We're investigating at night because most of the time that's when businesses are quiet and
Right.
they don't have to worry about losing money by shutting down their business.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just quiet all around. You don't have as much street noise. You don't have, you just don't have all of the kind of ambiance that just takes place
Yep.
during the day.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, and so, I really stress that we always are with at least one other person. We are never alone in any room
Mhm.
because if your foot falls through a floorboard and you step in the wrong place, like who's going to come and help you when you're in a huge building and and you're just by yourself? It just doesn't make any
Mhm.
sense. It's not safe. We don't work on TV shows. We don't have insurance.
Yeah.
Um, that's just not part of the true job of
Mhm.
this field. And so you just need to be smart about it. And
Yeah.
we like I personally I use a vest. I wear a vest when I investigate so I can like put all of my gear in. And I carry a small first aid kit in my vest. And I
Mhm.
have a larger one in my pack
Yep.
that I leave, at our base camp or base station, whatever you want to call it. And that's just me personally. That makes me feel more secure because
Mhm.
if we're walking by and there's a piece of metal and we scrape ourselves, okay, I've got a Band-Aid. I've got some, anti-bac ointment. I could put on that and then you go get tetanus shot tomorrow.
Mhm. Yep.
You know? Um, but those are things that you really need to think about. Um, yeah, so I think I went off the rails with
Mhm.
that one a little bit. I don't remember the
That's
actual
fine.
question. But there you go, guys.
Yep. No, and then actually one thing I know, it's not the didn't keep me up at night for the ethical, but going back to
Mm.
it did keep me up for the fear a little bit. And this is where
Yeah.
this is the case that I was talking to Blake about, that I wanted to reach out to him and write a book on together, because I think his horror might soup it up a little bit, his horror background. But essentially what had happened is, it was a rough case to begin with. This was the case that I was
Mhm.
physically attacked. During the case,
Okay,
an
so
investigator, he lost track of time. And while I was watching him, his eyes went completely black and
wow.
his face didn't even look like his. But what scared me is going home. Anytime I go on an investigation, I always just sit in my car. Probably look like an idiot to my neighbors, but I'm like, if anyone followed me home, thank you for joining me on the ride home. But this is where it stops. You don't go any
I do the
further.
same thing.
Yep.
I do the exact same
Yep.
thing because I
Okay.
have little kids. I've
Right.
got kids,
Yep.
right?
And
And
whether
I
it
am
works or
not
not,
going to
I've
bring
said it.
anything in here. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was weird. And we lived in an apartment complex at the time on the second floor. And I went up the stairs, felt perfectly fine, perfectly normal, didn't think anything of it. Got in the house, locked the door. As soon as I locked the door, it sounded like someone punched the front door with their fist.
Wow.
And I looked through the peephole immediately. And as quick as I looked through the peephole, I would have, the way the apartment was set up, I would have seen someone running away.
Mhm.
And there's nobody there.
Wow.
And I was just like, that shook me up for a little bit. And
Yeah.
it was hard to go to sleep that night.
Yeah.
Because my
Yeah. I
husband
bet.
was working late. My son was young at the time. And it was just really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, no, I completely understand. Actually, let's make this the next question. I don't have it on the list, but do you do any type of, do you have a process, or do you do anything to protect yourself either prior, during, or after an investigation?
Yeah. Prior.
Spiritually. Yeah.
Right. So prior, of course, I follow pagan roots, but I try not to do too much because I don't want to close myself off so much that they don't want to communicate with
Right.
me. But
Right.
my bra gets a little lumpy because there's crystals in it.
I love it.
And I have a pentacle that I wear.
Okay.
And I usually wear that anywhere I go that I think could be haunted.
Mhm.
So, of
Mhm.
course, I don't wear it to work, even though we've had some strange things happening at work lately. It's weird. But and even people I work with are like, hey, this happened to me last night. What do you think? But yeah, so I mean,
Wow.
I have that. And then, of course, I have little, almost like spell jars
Mhm.
that I carry in my case, that it's everything from protection to, I call them exorcism jars, and all of the things. And they have the different herbs and the salts and the crystals mixed in. And I either leave them with the
I see.
homeowner half the time, or if it's a business, I say, hey, here's
Mhm.
this. But then the other thing I do when I get home is I have a homemade, I call it an exorcism bath.
Mhm.
And I fill the tub up with hot water. It's a combination of marjoram, thyme, bay leaves, and sea salt.
Mhm.
And I fill
All
the
the
tub with
things that
it.
we've heard that help clear energy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I fill the tub with it and I soak in it for 15 to 20 minutes. And then I drain the tub, but I stay in the water and I envision the water pulling all the negative
Mhm.
energies that's attached to me away as it drains. And then I'm done. So that's kind of the things
Very
that
cool.
that I do.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't follow paganism. That paganism.
Yep.
That's correct. I just said it right. Okay, good.
Yep.
I want to make sure I have it correct. But I think it's really important to, I've always said what you believe is what's going to happen. And
Hmm.
so, for me, it's not always about, having a crystal or having, and I have crystals, I have some bracelets, I have some Palo Santo bracelets, I have Palo Santo oils and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And I do use them from time to time. Honestly, it really just depends on how I'm feeling. But For me, it's more of a, I don't wanna say like a strengthening tool, but it's more of like, um, I guess ritual.
Mhm.
But it's not necessary, if that makes
Okay.
any sense,
Mhm.
because for
Yep.
me, like, I see a Reiki, practitioner, a couple of times a month, and so, like, I've always really been into energy work, and, so for me, it's really about, I guess just meditating and, like you said,
Mhm.
envisioning
Yep.
because and I actually tell that to, when we go on investigations, whether it be a business or, a historical location or a private home investigation. If somebody's having a really hard time, that's one of the first tools that we give to them for so that they can feel empowered because you don't ever want to feel like you're not empowered.
Mhm.
And just by understanding that your mind is more powerful than really anything. I think a lot of people don't realize that the
Mhm.
mind is very,
Yep.
very powerful. So just by envisioning certain things, you can really empower yourself. So when we go into investigations, we always open with an opening statement, which basically just states, we're here to communicate. We don't mean you any harm. We're not here to
Mhm.
disrespect. We just want to speak with you. You are free to do so, or you're free not to. That is completely
Mhm.
up to you. But if you would like, we are here. And then before we leave, we always do a closing statement.
Mhm.
And that's our time to state, thank you for communicating. You are
Mhm.
not allowed to follow us. You cannot attach to us. Oh, and I should state this in our opening statement. We do state that they're not allowed to harm us spiritually, emotionally, physically. We
Mhm.
kind of just lay out the ground
Right.
rules, and then the same when we're about to leave. We lay out the ground rules. Thank you. You need to stay here. You cannot follow us.
Mhm.
And I do the same thing every time I get home
Yep.
and I state that pretty much the same thing. And then I take a shower after every
Mhm.
single investigation.
Yep.
It's just something that I started doing in the very beginning.
Yep.
It's like I know it's kind of like when you go to an amusement park, like Disney or
Yeah.
something, and back and you're so exhausted and you just want to go to bed, but you just need to wash off.
Watch the TV. Yep.
I feel that way after every investigation,
Yep.
even if it's, like, not a very intense investigation. I
Mhm.
have to take a hot shower and just,
Yep.
like, wash it away, and then I can go to bed no matter how tired I am.
Yep. Yeah. And to add to that, how do you protect your home? Because I know my home, um, I have crystals laid out. I have
Mhm,
5 crystals with
mhm,
laid out in a star point almost.
mhm. Oh, she froze. You froze, Heather. Come back. There
Are you there?
she is. I can hear
Can you
you,
see
but you're
me?
frozen on screen. Okay, guys, hang on with us. We're having a little technical
Identical form in our
difficulties.
house with the top.
There she is. Okay.
Okay. Can you see me now? My
Yes,
internet, you
I
would
know how
think I
that
work
goes.
for a cable company or something like that.
Okay, she's back.
Okay. If I go out again, take the show and run with it. But it's laid out in a star in the house, and then we also have little herb jars over the entrance doors to
Mhm.
protect the home. So how do you protect your home to make sure nothing follows you in, just in case they decide to be daring?
Yeah, yeah, because they can, they have free will and they can.
Mhm.
I just envision stuff and I've come home a few times and a couple days after an investigation, I'm like, hmm.
Mhm.
So I will do a heavy meditation.
Mhm.
And I will do what's known as the white light meditation, where I envision my entire house, even my car, because I don't
Mhm.
want anybody in my car either. But I'll envision my entire house, my car, my property just bathed in white light, and absolutely nothing negative is allowed.
Mhm. Yep.
And I always feel a difference right after. It's really amazing.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep. Yeah.
but yeah,
And it
I learned
goes.
how to meditate at a young age, so I've always believed in it. I've always relied on it.
Mhm.
And again, like I said, I see a Reiki practitioner a couple times a month, and sometimes I have to go to her, and I'm like, man, I need a recharge
Yeah.
because something just sucked the life out of me.
Mhm.
You know,
Yep.
so
Exactly. And that goes with, I know Dr. Kelly taught us it too, is the power of self-possession.
yeah.
Is if you are fully confident in your skills, fully confident in yourself, there's
Mhm.
no room for anything to basically possess you or to tear you down,
Exactly.
type of thing. So
Yeah.
that's a big thing that I do as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I do that too without you really even realizing it, but you're absolutely right.
Mhm. Yep. Okay. Well, that, we answered that question naturally, so we'll skip that one. Okay.
Philip's talking about the Waffle House. He must be
So,
hungry.
it's, I think I've only been to one Waffle House ever.
No.
Yes.
Okay, when I come out and visit you, we're going to
I
Waffle
haven't
House.
seen, I'm sure there's some out here, but I haven't seen one.
Really?
But I'm
So
not
we
looking for
just
them
got
either.
our first Whataburger out here.
Finally, we
I
didn't
know.
have one. We had one in Florida, but it was an hour and a half away. But now we have one 5 minutes down the road.
That is so funny. I love their spicy ketchup. I
Mhm.
actually bought some off of Amazon, like the
Yep.
big bottles, because I absolutely love it. It's
Mhm.
the best
Yeah.
ketchup in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're a breakfast burrito with potatoes.
Oh, wow.
They put their hash browns in their breakfast burritos. They're really good.
Stop it.
Yeah, it's literally walking distance from my work.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah, we didn't have one of those in Vegas when we lived out there, but the one in Florida was in Orlando, and we were too far away from it to go just to go grab a burger. And we moved here, and we went
Oh,
to the grocery store. I'm like, oh, there's a Whataburger.
that is so funny.
There's a lot of things that I'm excited that are out here. But yeah, I think I've only been to one Waffle House, and it was when we were traveling when I was younger.
Waffle House is usually the stop after a investigation for us. It is, let me tell you, 3 in the morning,
True.
you walk away not just with ghost stories, but you walk away with some Waffle House stories.
Hmm.
It
And I
is
guarantee some of those are
interesting.
haunted in their own. Okay, so here's one for you. Your empowerment coaching overlaps with investigation. How do you help clients reclaim agency without overpromising them a resolution?
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, again, it's all about, I don't wanna use the word preach, but it's all about educating them
Mhm.
that they're more powerful than they believe, and I think I mentioned this, in the first episode too. It's really it's really interesting the amount of people who, whether their experiences are truly paranormal or not, it's really interesting how quickly they give up their power, their personal power. How quickly they kind of like throw up their hands and they're like, "Oh, there's a ghost here," or something's happening, and I'm helpless and I don't know where to go, what to do. So I really focus on, and actually on our last private residential investigation, I sat down with the lady who had called us in, and I told her, I said, I want you to speak out loud and set boundaries and tell the spirits they're not allowed to come inside your house anymore. And I wish we could use her as an example in education courses and everywhere, because this woman she laid down the law, and we were so proud of her. And it was so good to see her just reclaim not only her personal power, but her house. And we've been checking in with her because this was back in, I think it was back in July or maybe August when we were there. And she actually just she messaged just a couple weeks ago and she said it is quiet. She hasn't had any activity whatsoever. And we're just so happy for her
Mhm.
because she truly believes that that is her home
Yeah.
and nobody is allowed to come in there whether they're living or they've passed over. Nobody is allowed to come in her home and cause chaos. That's not
Mhm.
allowed. And so that was really that was like a real heartwarming moment, I think, for everybody on the team because it was really good to hear and feel that we helped her, and things are good for her now, and that was really awesome. Um, what was the second part of that question? I'm looking for it and I can't find it.
Uh, I think I deleted it too as
Oh,
I
it's
said it.
okay.
Yeah, it's
Um,
basically how do you not actually,
oops.
my words would be full transparency to not raise their expectations too much.
Yeah, and letting them know that so a really important thing that we always tell them is, they have free will.
Hmm.
And, you know, free will exists in life. It also exists when you cross over. That's just how it is.
Hmm.
That doesn't give them the right to come in and mess with you, but you know, they still have that free will. So we do make sure that they understand we can only do so much.
Right.
We can only stand here and say, you need to leave. You're not allowed to, do X, Y, and Z. You're not allowed here. We can't guarantee. I think that's really important. We cannot
Hmm.
make any guarantees. The best we can do is teach you how to empower yourself, and whether that be taking 5 to 10 minutes every day to do a meditation and engage in the white light meditation, um, whether if they're more along the lines of religion, if that means they're going to do some heavy prayer, whatever it's going to be, making sure that they keep letting the spirits know that they have set boundaries
Hmm.
and they're
Yeah.
not allowed to mess with them. So we
Hmm.
can't make any guarantees. We can give them tools.
Right.
It's just like everything in life. We can't make any guarantees, but we can, if you need us to, we can come back and say, hey, look, you had your chance.
Right. Yeah.
Now we're going to get really firm with you,
Hmm.
right? You
Yeah.
need to leave.
And that's where teams need to be more transparent with other people, because
Yes.
some people go
Yeah.
in saying, oh no, we guarantee we can get you answers, or we can guarantee we
And
can
they're
get you
taking
X,
all
Y,
that
and Z.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one of those that you just need to go in and be like, hey, this field isn't perfect. We just don't know. We can come in and try to help you, but we can't guarantee any outcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always tell clients too, I always tell them, we had done a Zoom call with a couple a while back, and they were a great couple going through some hard life challenges when we
Mm-hmm.
spoke to them. Um, and they told us everything that they were experiencing. And we believed that, that yes, they were experiencing some paranormal activity. Um, but there were some health concerns. And we decided that it was probably going to be less stressful for them because of
Mm-hmm.
health issues if we didn't do a full on investigation. So we provided them with a pretty lengthy email on everything that they needed or that we suggested they do. And I said to them, I said, because they were super happy. They were just a happy couple, just had a great outlook on life and everything. And they were just going through some hard times. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, everything you're doing, your laughter, your outlook on life. And yeah, you guys are going through some pretty rough patches, but you still have this great attitude. I said, you have to keep doing that. And I told them, I said, have a barbecue, have people over, bring laughter into your house. Just do everything you can to raise the vibration
Yeah.
around you.
Yep.
And, they kind of lit up after I said that, and they were very, very happy to hear that because I think deep down they wanted to hear something like that, you know?
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's just a matter of, like you said, raising the vibration in the room.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
it could be as simple as playing music that makes you happy and dancing.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. I use an example, a long time ago, I walked into a room, with a family member, and that family member was going through a real hard time, and I literally cracked the door open, and it was like walking into a brick wall.
Mhm.
I could literally I mean, I could c you don't know it until you experience it. It
Right.
sounds ridiculous, but I literally felt the negative energy, like, hit me in the face.
Mhm.
And so energy is real in my
Yeah.
eyes, in my opinion. I 100% believe in it. And, if you can flip that around, if you can bring positivity into your life, no matter what you're going through,
Mhm.
it could do a world of good.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Okay, let's find one for Heather here. Ooh, okay. Heather, I know you've done lectures, you've done many lectures and you've taught
Mhm.
courses. Have you ever come into a disagreement with a skeptic and how did you handle it?
Don't really recall a situation where I have. It's as far as not believing in the paranormal, because most people that I encounter want to share their stories, want to share, and they're
Yeah.
there because they had an experience or they believe in it
Mhm.
already. Um, the one thing I think I shared this before, that would become close to a skeptic was I had one of our watchers, which I'm sure he's not watching us anymore after our conversation we had last year, but he reached out and he wanted to know where I got my PhD, what it took to get the degree, and why I got it. And I was just openly honest and was like, hey, it's not a 4-year accredited type degree, but it is a theological based degree. So it's still
Exactly.
just as valid. But,
Yep.
X, Y, and Z, here's where I went. Here's the website. Here's all the information you need. Let me know if I can help you
Yeah.
with anything. Just thinking it was like you when you reached out wanting to know more about the school and how to get into it.
Mhm.
And then next thing I got was a message back from him saying, well, that's kind of interesting, but I don't think I need to go back to school for a doctorate degree just to ghost hunt. So my response to that was, well, that's where you and I are different. You
Yeah,
ghost hunt, I research.
exactly.
And I
Yeah.
never heard from him again.
Yeah.
So, and that's
Wow.
probably, everyone else I run into, they either already believe or already have. The only one that was a
Mhm.
skeptic in my life was my husband
Mhm.
for the longest time until he started having some experiences on his own, even though he still won't admit it that there were paranormal experiences because he's like, there's got to be an explanation for it. But other than that, he still, and my dad, he was always, but he just never wanted to talk about it. But
Mm.
I think something happened recently because he started asking me questions about
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So it's like, what happened, Dad? But he won't talk about it.
Yeah. It's
But it,
really hard. It's hard for people because of so many people, especially the older generation, you know, you're either brought up, you just don't talk about it because you don't want to bring those bad thoughts or
yeah,
vibes or, the evil into the
mhm,
house. And, it's very understanding
yeah,
considering where some people have come from and,
mhm,
the history of society. And then there's just people who they just can't believe it because it's so beyond what they can comprehend,
right.
And that's really hard, and then they're faced with something like it happened to me when I saw that
Mhm,
shadow that shadow person for the very first time. Like, if you had told me back then that shadow people were a thing, I would have laughed in your face. Like, what do you mean shadow people are a thing? Like, how is that possible? And here's one like right in front of me in my living room,
Mhm.
fully
Yeah.
awake, not sleep
Mhm.
paralysis.
Are you sure? No.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. But yeah, it's really hard to comprehend. And, you know,
Mhm.
had had me and my fellow teammate not heard that disembodied voice
Mhm.
last fall together, I would have thought it was all in my head.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
he heard it too,
Yeah. And
you know. So it was
yeah,
just so
that's always
validating.
right. And that's the tough thing too, is because I mean, I get it. When someone's going through paranormal activity, of course, you want them to make sure that they're not underlying conditions or psychiatric conditions or anything like that. But the minute I started having my experiences regularly in high school, next thing I knew, I had weekly sessions with our school counselor,
Wow.
who was a psychiatrist, and my mom
Yeah.
worked for the school. And it was like,
Oh, yeah.
I just sat there. I'm not crazy. I know what I saw.
Yeah.
I
And that's
you
why I
know,
never told anybody.
yeah.
I never told, and the only reason I told my husband was because we were living in our first apartment together, and I walk into the living room and he was watching some ghost hunting show. Right? This was like 2007, you know.
Mhm.
He's got some ghost hunting show on, and there was an image, like a sketch of a shadow person, and I
Mhm.
froze, like, because I hadn't seen anything like that since that
Mhm.
time in my living room. So
Right.
I saw it and it was exactly same stance, everything what I saw, and I was
Mhm.
just frozen, and I
Mhm.
couldn't talk, I couldn't move. And he's like, "Well, are you okay?" And I told him, I've seen that before." And so then
Right.
I shared the story with him, and then
Mhm.
he opened up and he showed some stories that he had as a kid growing up. So, but yeah, it's like for so many people, you know, you really have to experience it to truly believe it. You know, like,
Mhm.
are UFOs real? Possibly. I kind of still need to actually see one. Like, with my own eyes, even though deep down I'm like, "Yeah, it's totally possible."
Mhm.
But I kinda like Bigfoot, probably, maybe. I still really need to see one,
Yeah.
you know? And that's just my scientific brain.
Right. Yep. I do have to say it was weird living in Vegas because Area 51 was not too far away.
Yeah,
There were many nights where just driving in the car, looking up at the sky, that and it
yeah.
was tough too because airport was right there. So
And
you
the
kind of had
lights
to,
and the light pollution, it's so
but
hard.
sometimes the lights in the sky just didn't move the way they should
Yeah.
have. So it
That
was
was in
just
Utah.
yeah.
Yeah, when we lived in Utah for a time, and it's pretty dark in Utah.
Mhm.
And, I never actually saw anything, but we would turn on the news every now and
Mhm.
then, and it would be like our neighborhood or like the next neighborhood over,
Yep.
and they're like, "Yeah, something was seen." Or like we lived there when there was the Bigfoot sighting,
Mhm.
in broad daylight up on the hill, and
Yep.
it was not too far from where we lived. And, you know, yeah, Utah has some interesting stuff, let me say.
Mhm.
I used to want to see. I was like, "Please," like, we'd be driving at night, "Please, please, I wanna see something."
Yeah, I was the
And
same
it
way,
never
and it was you always see something, and then it's like, wait, but then it's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, the airport's over there, and that's over there, but it's like, but it still just didn't move right, but it just wasn't proof enough to me
Mhm.
to,
Yeah.
but yeah. So there are many times that I mean, when we probably see them more often than we think we do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. So, in this one question I have for you is going to talk about your Paranormal Stranger Things website that you have.
Okay.
Many sites tend to leave heavily into sensationalism. How do you keep yours rooted in science and critical thinking while still keeping it engaging?
Well, my number one goal on Paranormal Stranger Things, like it is here, is education.
Mhm. Yep.
And it's one of the reasons I decided to go to metaphysics school, is because I wanted to be able to educate people.
Mhm.
I think education is incredibly valuable.
Mhm.
And I'm not talking about education in terms of like going and getting a degree and, going to college. I'm talking about education in, the way of knowing how to seek unbiased sources
Mhm.
and knowing how to weed out things that are not unbiased, because being unbiased is very, very important to me. You have to approach things with an open mind.
Mhm.
It's in it. Listen, it's impossible to be 100% unbiased. We're human. We're going to hold pre-existing beliefs. It's going to happen, but it's knowing how to tone it down and say, okay, these are the facts. This is what we have, the data, or this is what we're being told. What do we know? And how can we use what we know to put stuff together to try and figure out what could possibly be going on
Mhm.
here? That's really important. And so Paranormal Stranger Things, I started because I really wanted to educate people. Honestly, I was sick and tired of people just walking around with the SLS cams and passing stuff off as real. Or I had somebody come to me and they told me that I should investigate a certain location, and I shared, and it's a location in San Francisco, and I shared that it wouldn't be possible because it's outside, and they tried to argue with me. Oh, but at night it's quite. No, you don't understand. It just, because I know exactly where it is. It
Mhm.
would not be possible. And yes, I know the stories. And a lot of them can be debunked, trust me.
Mhm.
Are some of them possibly true? Absolutely, but most of them can be debunked, so I wanted to have a place where I could teach people how to view things in a way that would just help them think and make the decision for themselves, and
Yeah.
not just kind of follow some kind of status quo that they found in a social media group
Mhm.
because everybody got super excited about something, and that was just what you should believe because somebody said that's cool,
Right.
So
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I always tell people you never stop learning.
yeah,
And like you
yeah,
said, it
absolutely.
doesn't have to be. I mean, look at me. I'm back in school again. I'm going for my
That's
master's
awesome.
in business administration for marketing. But
That's awesome.
work's paying for it. So people joke I'm a professional student
I
because
love it.
yeah, and I want to
I
go back
love
to IMHS again for another one. So
Yeah.
Dr. Kelly's going to probably get sick of me. I just keep going back.
I
It's
was
like,
like,
what
I'm
time?
just gonna kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I went for both
Yep,
of them. I know the one you're going for.
yep,
I went for both of them at the same time. I
yep,
was like, I got so much I wanna do. I got books to write. I got ideas I need to share. So I'm just taking
yep.
care of this.
Yeah, there's actually two I want. The one that that I
Do you
want to do, and then the other one is in ufology.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah,
I thought about
so
going for that one too,
yeah.
but then I'm like, I don't know. Do I really want to camp out in the cold at night? Do I really wanna do that?
Yeah, no, no. But there's more to it than that. I'll find a way to make it to where you can do it indoors.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, because the biggest joke in
Then
my
I'm gonna
family
consider it.
is my idea of roughing it is staying at a Holiday Inn instead of a Hyatt. So,
Thank you. There you
so,
go.
yeah, there's so much more. I've tried camping once, can't stand it. Nothing against
I'm
it for
just
people who enjoy it, but
I'm just old. I can't sleep. I can't sleep on the ground.
mhm,
Even the cots, can't do it.
yeah,
My
no,
bones ache.
yeah,
I have to
yeah, no.
have my good coffee, my good drip coffee. I don't like the percolator.
Hmm.
Listen, you know, I'm old.
Shush.
It's true.
I was gonna
I'm
say I'm
going
waiting
to
for
embrace
someone
it.
to chime in.
I don't mind it. I love it. I love getting older. Because the older I get, I feel more comfortable with everything, with myself, with my
Mhm.
life, with my career, with letting people know what I do.
Yeah.
I'm just comfortable. But
Right.
listen, I can't
Yeah.
sleep on the ground outside
Right.
anymore. I just
Yeah.
can't. I used to do it all
Exactly.
the time as a kid. It's not happening right now. It's just
No.
not. We
Yeah. I
rented
do
an
have to.
RV last year, and that was both me and my husband threw our backs out with that, and sorry,
Uh,
kids.
no, I do have to say, turning 50 was hard for about 2 days,
Yeah.
and then I was like, okay, it was tough because, but I mean, look at it nowadays. I mean, 50 is not what it was when we were 10.
No, it's like the new 30.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Except for,
it's really
I think I have more metal in my body than I do natural parts lately. But it's
that's
all part of
hilarious.
growing older. um, okay.
All right, let's find a question for Heather here. Oh, here's a really good one I think is really important. What does rest and decompression look like after a heavy case for you?
Depending on how heavy of a case it was,
Mhm.
usually I'm in bed the entire, and that goes to age. I'm usually in
Yeah.
bed the entire next day. Especially one case, I mean, geez, this was almost 10 years ago now already, but we were in exploring a mine,
Mhm.
and we were in and out of mine shafts and walking the entire mine the whole property, acres upon acres. And it was in Nevada, so there was some hills, and
Mhm.
it was and it was in February, so it was snowing.
Oh, Lord.
um, and when we actually spent the night with the mine owner and his family in their home, and I had the couch, my other investigator, he took the floor along with the kids. They all camped out on the floor with us in the living room, so we had a fun night telling
Um,
ghost stories and camping out. But the next day after we got home, I went straight to bed, and I think I slept for a day and a half.
yeah.
I was so, I mean, because it was also, I mean, lots of paranormal activity,
Yeah.
tons of stuff that one thing left and right, we couldn't even keep up with it some of the times. So it was just
Yeah.
very overwhelming and exhausting. So yeah, for me, it's of
Mm.
course doing what I do after the investigation, the bathing ritual, and then the relaxation. But it's usually going to bed for a day or two, or
Mhm.
relaxing and not doing anything paranormal for 2 days. I don't even
Yeah.
start looking at any of the evidence for 2 days,
Yeah,
because I
that's a
want to
really
clear my
good idea.
mind. I want to separate myself from it all, and then I go back to
Yeah.
everything with a clear head.
Mhm. I have to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, everybody told me what they call it, the paranormal flu.
Yeah. Or the
Everybody
paranormal
or the
hangover.
paranormal hangover.
Yeah.
Everybody told me, they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna feel it." And I did not believe it. And my first true all-night investigation with the team, I mean, I felt like I had been run over by a truck.
Hmm.
It I was like, "Wow." And then I'm, like, trying to, like, in my head, like, explain it away, like, "Oh, it's because they were talking about it," and
Hmm.
no. "Oh,
Hmm.
it's because
Yeah.
I was up." No. It is an exhaustion that can only be explained by energy.
Yep.
And, so yeah, I do the same thing.
Hmm.
It's like, thank goodness our investigations are almost always on a Saturday.
Yep.
So that once we get home or back at a hotel, if it's,
Hmm.
if we have to travel, um, usually if we have to travel, and most of us on the team will try and stay the Sunday just so we could stay
Hmm.
in bed. We can't always do that. Like, we have an investigation coming up in a few weeks, and I'm coming back the next day. But luckily, it's still here in Georgia, but it's still a drive.
Hmm.
But at some point, you just have to make sure you allow yourself the time, whether it be the very next day or once you get home, you have
Hmm.
to allow yourself the
Yep.
time to recoup because especially if it's an intense one, because it's not only just like draining you energy wise, but
Mhm.
emotionally. Sometimes
Yeah.
emotions play into it, and that can be really, really draining on you.
Yeah.
So yeah, just and I always make sure, like, because this is just how I am. A couple days leading up to an investigation, I make sure I'm staying hydrated. Like
Mhm.
2 to 3
Yep.
days, I'm like, okay, I have an I need to make sure I'm hydrated, make sure I'm eating right, and I've taken my vitamins because I know it's going to knock me on my butt.
Yep. I think that's pretty much true for almost everybody
Yeah.
if they don't pay attention.
Hmm.
So here's one for you. A term in
Hmm.
our field that is misused or overused.
Ooh, I would have to say the word skeptic
Mhm.
because I think a lot of people think skeptic. I don't think I know. A lot of people say they're skeptics, but what they really are is non-believers.
Yep.
And to truly be skeptical means you are basically saying, show me the evidence or show me some data and I will open my mind to it.
Right. Yep.
Whereas most people, when they say they're skeptics, they're just non-believers, and those are
Mhm.
they're two different things. So I would have to say the word skeptic or skeptical would
Mhm.
be a term that's misused
Yep.
daily.
Yeah. And for me, I have two, but they're not really
Mhm.
misused, they're overused. The first one is pseudoscience, and it's more or less,
Mm,
I can't stand that term. It sounds like
I
nails
know
on a
you hate it.
chalkboard to me. I'm
I
like,
know.
oh my God, it's not a pseudoscience. Chemistry was a pseudoscience, if you want to put it that way. It's like it's not a fake science. To us, this is a true science. We're taking
That
it,
is true.
basically the way
Yeah.
any scientist would. So that could be kind of overused and misused, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But that's just my opinion for that word. I have a different meaning for it than other people do. And then one, I know Lloyd Arbach talked about this on a show with us once. It's debunking. The term
Yes.
debunking in the paranormal field was never used until they used it on ghost hunters.
Yeah.
And I don't even use that word. I've always used disprove.
Yeah. I've heard him talk about that before too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
All right, let's see. We had okay, just checking the time. We still have so many questions. How did I come up with all of these questions? Hmm.
I know, which one do we go with?
I was going to use that one, but we haven't investigated together yet. So when we investigate together, we'll use that one.
Mhm.
What's a profession? Did we? I don't think we've done this one. What's a professional risk you took speaking against a fad or changing methodology that ultimately made your work better?
I think we talked about that at the beginning. Wasn't that one of the ones we talked about
I
at the
think
beginning?
so too. Yeah, I just think I forgot to check it off. All right, moving on.
I'm like, wait, I think we answered that one.
Tiffany is not that tired tonight. I'm with it. We did that one. Okay, so here's what. So you have a blog
Mhm.
on your is it Exploration Paranormal or is it
Yes.
the yes,
It's
okay.
it's basically listed as exploring the paranormal, but it's on the website Exploration Paranormal.
Got it. So
Yep.
if someone new to the paranormal stumbles across your site, what's the one article, resource, or page you would want them to read and why? Or what would you like them to take away from it?
Definitely check out my blog because I
Yeah,
think I have over 400 posts on
you
there
have
so
a lot.
far. I haven't
Mhm.
posted much this year, but I have a lot on there that covers everything from Paranormal 101 to haunted locations to personal experiences to pagan traditions to
Mm.
holiday crafts.
Yeah.
I'm like, I cover everything on there. One of my favorite ones is I did a recipe to make witch's snot for
Oh
Halloween.
my god.
So,
I need to go look at
and
that because my kids were
yeah,
they're gonna love that.
and actually, one of my best performing posts is how to make a witch's broom.
Okay.
So it's kind of, and one thing that I would just love people to take away is kind of be open minded to learn a
Yeah.
little bit about everything. Because even though I post a lot of paranormal and pagan stuff on there, I do also include other religions, and just know that it's just not one or the other. It can be, even if you believe in, Christianity, if
Mhm.
there's, like a family that's suffering and they just so happen to be Muslim, you want to take into
Mhm.
consideration their beliefs. And that's one thing that I
Yes.
talk a lot about in a lot of my posts is
Mhm.
this may not be for you, but you can tweak what I've written to fit your beliefs.
Exactly,
Yep.
exactly. I think so many people like to get into their, they like to stay in their bubble, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
like to venture out, and this comes with, like, not being closed-minded.
Mm-hmm.
We're all individuals, and that's what makes us human, that it's an
Yep.
amazing thing to be individuals, but we have to remember that, uh, respect goes both ways,
Yep.
and you need to be sensitive to those things
Yep.
and
Exactly.
not try to push your views. You're just
Mhm.
sharing, you're educating, but you're not.
Right.
I think it can be a fine line. It could be a very fine line between educating and preaching or pushing
Right.
your views on people.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
you have
And,
to be
and
really
that's the other
careful.
thing that I hope people take away from it is just because I'm sharing it, it's
Mhm.
based on my experience, my research, and my perspective of the world.
Exactly.
And they can take it how they want, but I'm not preaching it as this is how it is. This
Mhm.
is just my experience and I'm sharing it, but you could have had a
Yeah,
different experience.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, and my site, paranormalstrangerthings.com, I have an article over there, and gosh, I can't remember the exact name of it, but basically it's something along the lines of um, no, your house is probably not haunted by a demon. I think that's the title
Yep.
I used. And I wrote that probably this past spring, I think. And I wrote it because there's just so much talk going around. And I just had some things to say.
Yep. And because you used the D word, it was probably one of your most viewed.
It's one
Yep.
of them. Yeah.
Yep. Because my
Yeah.
second most viewed post
Mhm.
that I had is about the Hoover Dam.
Oh.
And because I've written extensively about the Hoover Dam, and with this article, I
Mhm.
titled it, I think it was Demons, Satan, something else, oh my. So it's kind of like, taken from Wizard of Oz, the bears, oh my. And it like shot to the top and was like viewed
That's
100
awesome.
times in one night. And I've never had a blog that I posted with that, but it just goes to show how the title can bring people to it. But then so many people were like, well, that's not what you said in the article. And I'm like, well, no, I just said that people think that it's, Satan's throne.
Yeah.
And it's just
I've
because,
heard of it being called that before.
yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
which
yeah.
I find is very interesting.
That was funny too, because I was interviewed for a TV show and we were talking about everything going on at the Hoover Dam. And I was like, and the interview was going great. I was having a great time, but it just didn't seem like it was information they were looking for. So, and the
Oh,
minute I go, but you do know it's also referred to as Satan's throne. And they both jumped in because we did it virtually. And they're like, what?
that's awesome.
And it was like,
That's
then
hilarious.
it took the whole conversation in another direction.
That's hilarious. But yeah, with that article I wrote, no, your house is probably not haunted by a
Mhm.
demon. It was just my way of, bringing information to people that um, evil hauntings, demonic hauntings, things along those lines
Mhm.
happen far, 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 far less than people want to believe.
Mhm.
It's really interesting because we get so many inquiries of people. automatically, like in the first sentence, when we ask, on our inquiry form, like, what are you experiencing? And their first sentence is, we have a demon. We need you to come and
Mhm.
clear it. We need you to exorcise our house. I caught an orb on my ring cam, and I see a demon face. And it's just, it's like, wow.
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
no, no.
Yeah.
Um, Trust me, if you were dealing with an actual demon, you wouldn't be contacting us.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so, you know, um, you'd be in the papers.
You wouldn't
You
even know you're being
contact us.
affected by a demon.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's just so I wrote that article to calm people down, or to try to calm people
Try.
down.
Yeah.
And people really loved it. I got a lot of
Mhm.
good feedback from it. So
Yep.
yeah, and
Cool. Cool.
I don't write articles or blog posts to get under people's skin. I don't write articles and blog posts to stir the pot.
Mhm.
Um, I write because I truly want to educate people. And like you said, these are my views, and they are based off of what I've experienced, what I've learned, and the data that I've been able to collect, and the evidence that I've seen.
Mhm. Yep.
My views in some aspects are going to differ from yours, and vice versa, and with everybody else in this field, because again, we're individuals and we experience our world in different ways.
Yep.
However, I can try and lay out the facts, and put that out there, so that people can then, and they can take what I've written, and they can think for themselves, and apply it. If they want to, they can apply it to how they
Mhm.
live their lives, and that's totally fine. And they can keep scrolling or click off of the website, and that's totally fine too.
Yep.
But at least the education and the facts have been put out there. So
Mhm. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So that actually leads me to a question: is what is one practice that you have adopted from another field?
ooh, from another field. So I used to work in the mortgage industry,
Mhm.
and I was in the shipping department. And so this was back before it was digitalized, and everything
Mhm.
was a paper file about that thick. And we would literally go through every single page in the file, make sure all the T's were crossed, the I's were dotted,
Mhm.
signatures and everything. And I'm still very meticulous when I investigate. I go through and I make sure that everything is the way it needs to be. In
Mhm.
fact, I just did, like I mentioned, a lecture a couple of weeks ago, and I had to go to Philip's house and borrow a whole bunch of equipment because he has the majority of it.
Mhm.
And went back this past weekend to take it all back to him because they're doing another library lecture coming up in a couple weeks. And I forgot I have some stuff in my computer bag because I took my big case, and then I also took my computer bag, and I had put some stuff in my computer bag. And Philip messages me earlier. He's like, "Hey, I can't find this and this." I'm like, "Oh," I felt so bad. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't put it with the rest of the stuff. Like, I will bring it to you this weekend, I promise. He's like, "It's totally fine. I just want to make sure you had it." But so I'm very meticulous,
Mhm.
and I do things by the book.
Yeah. 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 And for me, I would say it's a combination of geology and chemistry. And
Okay.
it's mostly because scientists back in 2005 out of Europe
Mhm.
released a study called the Superman theory.
Yes, I've
And
heard
it's
of it.
based on how energy can be recorded on quartz crystals. And they actually
Mhm,
even recorded an entire copy of the Bible on a small
mhm.
disc about the size of a quarter.
Yes.
And from that theory, it has become related to the paranormal field in the aspect of areas that have high concentration quartz seem to have more paranormal activity.
Yes.
And that's one of the research projects that I've been working on.
That's awesome. Yes, I think you've mentioned that to me
Yeah.
before, and
Yeah.
I have asked if I could read what you have.
Yeah. I'm not done with it yet, though.
I
It's
know.
right there. It's right there with my book.
I know. I know. I'm here. When it's ready, girl, I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm here
One
for it.
one of these days, I won't have to work 40 to 50 hours a week, and I'll be able to get everything
I
done that
know.
needs to get done.
I've been editing for the past week, just nonstop. And I
Mm.
told my team, I'm like, it's coming, it's coming. I promise. I feel so bad because it's been over 2 years since I've released a fiction.
Hmm.
Just, life.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so they're like, we're here. Don't worry about it. But still, I feel bad. Is it your turn or my turn?
I don't know, but I'm trying to find a question.
Okay. I'm
You still
looking
have a
too.
lot in here. It's like we have 20 minutes, so it's like, what do we want to cover? Okay. Actually, here's one real quick. What is the first question you ask a new client?
The first question I ask a new client is, well, when I talk to a new client, I'm basically giving them the floor, because for two reasons. One, it's to give them the space to talk about their experiences because most people don't have that opportunity or have never had that opportunity. So I'm giving them the floor. So I will introduce myself, introduce the team, because they're always on the Zoom call too,
Mm-hmm.
and immediately open it up to them and say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, tell us, even though we have their inquiry form, tell us what's been
Mm-hmm.
going on. And I do it for a couple of reasons. One is I'm taking notes, I'm typing notes as they're speaking
Mm-hmm.
because I want to know if the story changes later on, but also I want to know if the story changes from what they've already given us.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
So the first thing I say is, the floor is yours. Just
Mm-hmm.
start from the beginning. What's going on?
Yep. Yeah. And one thing I always ask is, why did you call us?
Yeah.
Is the
So
first
kind of
thing.
same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last question I always ask is, what do you expect out of this?
Yeah, we do that too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or what's your end goal? Like what are
Mm-hmm.
you hoping to
Yep.
accomplish? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Those are super important.
Well, I do have a question, but I'm going to save that for the end because I think that'll be a fun thing to wrap it up. And it's not a
Okay.
question. It's not a question from your list, so don't worry about.
Okay, cool. Okay, because
repeating
I was
it.
going to ask this one. What's one thing you want this show to change in the community?
Does it have to be one thing? No.
No, it's us. Of course not.
Yeah. I definitely want it to a couple different things. I want it to help train the next generation of paranormal researchers, as well as teach existing paranormal researchers a new way of looking at things,
Yeah.
and to try to guide people in a more scientific direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have to say the same thing.
Yep. Yep.
For sure.
Okay. Well, that was that one. And okay, here's one. I'm going to kind of tweak it a little bit, but one belief that you had that you gladly changed because better evidence came along to change your mind. And the way I'm viewing that question is like when you did an investigation and you thoroughly, either before the investigation had a belief what was going to happen, or during it believed something was paranormal, but later on had evidence proving it wasn't or was.
I would have to say ITC
Mm-hmm.
or spirit box sessions. I understand that they're more experimental.
Mm-hmm.
but some of the stuff that we've gotten, there's just no way to explain it any other way.
Right.
Just questions that we've asked, and it doesn't happen on every investigation, and that's what makes it so much more believable in
Mhm.
my eyes, at least, because
Right.
we just did an investigation and we got absolutely nothing on the spirit box, absolutely
Mhm.
nothing. Um, but there have been a couple locations we've gone to where they're giving us names that match our prior research, like before we arrived.
Mhm.
Like names are matching up.
Mhm.
Giving us different names, and then we research again once we leave, and it's lining up with the name we were given plus like a different word, like something else that came through on the spirit
Mhm.
box. So at first I didn't believe it. I was like, it just doesn't seem possible.
Mhm.
But again, it's one of those things where after I experienced it, and I'm sitting there asking the questions and these answers are coming through. There's just there's just no other way to describe it. And it's one of those things where yes, it's experimental. It's
Mhm.
it's not reliable evidence, but for us, knowing the location, knowing the research we've done, the experiences that we had, for us it's true. And
Mhm.
hopefully someday we'll be able to use it and use it as evidence to prove that either more research needs to be done to prove it further, or yes, it is absolutely true.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah. And for me, I always had believed that spirits couldn't really hurt us physically
Right.
because it's like they're made up of nothing, essentially. How can they have the strength and the energy to push, shove, pick up any of that stuff until I was actually physically attacked on an investigation?
Yeah.
And that was like a shocker to me, but I still stood my ground. I everybody laughs at me because I yelled at it like it was a little 2-year-old child that got in trouble and I was sending it to the corner
Yeah.
because I just went off. I'm like, you don't
Yeah.
do
And
that.
that's what you should do. Nobody
Right.
has the right to do that to you.
Right. But I was like, there's no way. How can they, how can what's apparently nothing in our view actually, and I had already been in the field for years and I
Yeah.
still believed, I'm like, they can't hurt us physically. They can hurt us mentally and emotionally and, psychically, but they can't physically hurt us. And even all these people that claim they were getting hurt, I'm like, oh, that's not possible.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's one of those, you don't believe it until it happens to you.
Yeah. Well, it's also like I said earlier, in experiencing a family member who was going through like some just real heavy emotional stuff, and I walked in the room and I could literally feel it, and all that is energy.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and our theory is that they're using energy to
Mm-hmm.
manipulate the
Yep.
environment around us and us if
Mm-hmm.
they choose. So,
Okay. So I'm going to ask, where to go. There was one other question I wanted to ask before we do the final question that I want to do.
okay.
Oh, what do we have coming up for Ghost Ed, and what do you hope Ghost Education 101 does in the future?
Oh man. Well, we've talked about a lot of stuff that
Yeah.
we want to do with Ghost Ed,
Yeah.
and it's kind of, we're not putting that out there yet, but we have a lot of exciting things in the
Yep.
works. And I think after we get through the holidays, Heather, you and I are going to be talking a lot to start making these things happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I really want Ghost Ed to be, I would love for it to be a highly sought after educational resource,
Mhm.
both here online and in person. That
Exactly.
would be amazing.
Mhm.
And, so yeah, that's my goal and my dream
Mhm.
working with you and doing the show together,
Yeah.
is making sure that we can really help to educate, like you said, the next generation,
Mhm.
because it's so important.
Right.
We're just we're just having more questions. The questions aren't going away. And with
Mhm.
technology and all the cameras and just the way the world is changing, so much more evidence is coming to light.
Mhm.
And we need people to be able to explain things away
Yep.
or take the evidence and properly do research and try and
Exactly.
figure out what it is.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, I mean, like you said, we have a long list of things that we're hoping. So um, don't mean to put the teasers out there and be like, we're not going to tell you, but
Oh,
make sure.
I'm putting the teasers out
Yeah,
there.
I want to make sure everybody continues to follow us because as these things come alight, we will be bringing up more information and sharing more details because 2026, keep your fingers crossed, if everything works out, is going to be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Including some opportunities for us to get together and some
Yeah.
opportunities for us to actually meet our followers in person as well.
Yeah.
And then SBJR courses. This was a really great talk. Thank you for joining
Okay.
us. If this is your first time watching us, because I've never seen you comment, but if you've been watching us in the background, hopefully you know. If not, we do air live every Wednesday night from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. So if you're watching, I see you're on YouTube, so hit that little bell and make sure you get the notifications. Then we are live every week.
Yeah.
And
Thank you for
then
watching.
the only other thing that I want to talk about, what we have planned, is just a couple of our upcoming guests, because we have some amazing
Mhm.
guests that kind of all fell into place over the last couple days. Next week, we will be joined by Staticom's Tony Rathman. Will be joining us to talk about the Staticom 3.0 project that he's working on. We also have Todd Bates to talk about EVPs. Other guests we have coming up is Steve Dills. He's actually one of our former Ghost Education 101 educators when we first started. David Sloan will be coming on live to talk about Robert the Doll and hauntings in Key West.
Mhm.
We have an amazing panel discussion with Sin Schrader Hill, Sam Beltrusis, Mark Muncy, and Alex Matsuo. Decker Stoker will be joining us. One of my favorite ones is Reverend Sean Whittington. He will be joined by Stephen Crawford, the actor who played him in Legion of Exorcists. Kenneth Holden will be joining us. I have a few others that I can't announce just because we haven't set dates for them yet, but we do have some. I know while we were actually live, I did get a message from Bobby Resnick Calkins to come on, and he will be joining us in January as well.
Nice.
So
Perfect.
we have some amazing things
So
going
exciting.
on, and I can't wait to see what ends up happening. So the final question I have, and I know everyone laughs at my answer for this one, so it'll be kind of funny to see what your answer is what is one fun fact about you that is not paranormal related?
Oh, man. That's putting me in the hot seat, because what do I want you guys to know about me? I wonder if my husband's watching,
Yeah, this
because
is
I
to
know
show that we're human too.
yeah, he can give you a whole list. A fun fact. Well, you mentioned keeping it human too. And I don't know if it's like a fun fact, but it is a fact about me. And I share it with people, especially in my author community, because I think it's really important for people to know that we're all just human and we have struggles. And that is that I am severely dyslexic.
Mhm,
To the point where I can't dial phone numbers, and most of the time I can't even write my name.
mhm,
But I tell people, yes, I still write books, and yes, I still went through school, and I earned 2 PhDs. So, it is possible. You can
mhm.
have disabilities, you can have struggles, but if
Yeah.
you really, really want something, you can still accomplish it. So,
Mhm.
I think that's
Yeah.
a fact about me, that I'm always more open about it in my author community, just because I'm an author and here I am with dyslexia. My Gina is amazing, my editor.
Mhm.
She is, you're gonna love her, because
Yep.
she knows I got my editing notes for my last book back from her, and I could hear her laughing with some of these. What? What? And there's some notes where I was like, "Look, I took that out because I have no idea what I was trying to say."
Mhm.
You know?
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
well, you're not alone in that aspect, because I remember, this is going back to my previous life as a journalist. And I remember in my early 20s, I had an opportunity to interview Donald Glover, who came to the
Mhm.
university that I was working at. And his lecture was based on his dyslexia and how he had to have someone read the scripts to him so he could learn about it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
you can overcome anything as long as you put your mind to
Yeah.
it. Yep.
Absolutely. Yep.
And my fun fact isn't as encouraging as yours is to other people in the world, but I can write with my toes.
My sister-in-law can do that too. That's so cool. It's so
Yes.
freaky, but so cool, 'cause how do you like, what? How
My
I mean, you
toes
must
are
be using all of your brain to do that.
yeah, and my toes are really long too, so that's, my son's over here.
That's hilarious. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. So
That's
hopefully we
so
can have
cool.
some fun questions like that at the end of every show to lighten it up before
Ye
the end of the show.
Yes.
But anyway, it was great chatting with you again today. I know we still have a bunch more questions that we're working on, but we are fully booked for the rest of the year. So maybe sometime next year, or we'll just do a one-off recording with all of our final
Yeah.
answers on everything. So, but thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you do follow us on Facebook at Ghost Education 101. You can also subscribe and watch the replay on YouTube at Ghost Education 101 as well. And then coming soon, we do have our website, ghosteducation101.com, and hopefully we'll have more on there after the first of the year. And then, as I mentioned earlier, next week we do have Tony Rathman of Staticom 3.0 joining us to talk about some of his ITC practices and his project. I know I just got the email notification. He did send me clips of their evidence that they've captured on a recent study. So we'll be able to share those with you
Nice.
guys as well.
That'll be
And I'll make sure I
fantastic.
forward those to you so you can get them ahead of time and see what's going on.
Awesome.
But again, thank you everyone for joining us tonight, and we will see you next week. Have a great night.
Bye, guys.